What if everything you believe about trust, love, and control is a lie? Stay with me. By the end, you'll see the world differently. It began at a dinner party. Then Julian walked in. He had a smile that could disarm armies. He knew just what to say to make someone feel special. He was captivating. He asked about my work with a curiosity that felt incredibly flattering. All that mattered was this sudden, intense rapport with a complete stranger. He shared a vulnerable story that created an instant bond of trust. He was perfect, almost too perfect. That feeling right there is where the story truly begins. Sometimes what feels like magic is actually a meticulously crafted illusion. The charming stranger is the star of the show. The days that followed were a whirlwind. Julian was a constant presence. He would send thoughtful messages, remembering small details from our conversation at the party. He'd appear with my favorite coffee just because he was in the neighborhood. These gestures felt incredibly romantic and caring. They were grand, yet personal. Each act of kindness was like a golden thread weaving itself around me, pulling me closer. It felt wonderful, like being at the center of someone's universe. Who wouldn't want to feel that way? It was a powerful and addictive sensation. Little by little, however, other things began to fade into the background. Plans with old friends were canceled because Julian had a surprise planned. Hobbies I once enjoyed were put aside to spend more time with him. He never demanded it, of course. He would simply express a little disappointment, a slight sadness in his voice that made me feel guilty for even considering doing something without him. He would say things like, "Oh, I was so looking forward to seeing you," and my own plans would suddenly seem selfish and unimportant in comparison. The choice always felt like my own. This is the art of the puppeteer. The strings are so fine they are almost invisible. The movements are so subtle that the puppet believes it is dancing of its own free will. This is the essence of what we call dark psychology. It isn't about overt threats or loud demands. It's about the quiet, insidious manipulation of emotions and perceptions. It's the skill of making someone do what you want, while making them believe it was their idea all along. It's a silent game played in the shadows of our everyday interactions, in our offices, in our friendships, and even in our homes. We all like to think we are in control of our own minds. We believe our decisions are our own, born from our own desires and rational thoughts. But are they always? How much of what we do is influenced by the unseen forces around us? This is not about some mystical power or grand conspiracy. It's about understanding the predictable patterns of human behavior. It's about knowing which buttons to press to get a desired response. And for those who learn to master these techniques, the world becomes a stage where everyone else is merely an actor in their play. So what is this invisible force we call dark psychology? Let's strip away the mystery. At its core, psychology is simply the study of the mind and behavior. It seeks to understand what makes us tick. Dark psychology, then, is the study of the human condition as it relates to the art of manipulation and control. It's about understanding our hidden vulnerabilities, our deepest fears, and our most powerful desires. It's the blueprint of our emotional architecture. A skilled manipulator uses this blueprint not to build, but to exploit. They learn where the weak points are in our mental foundations. Think of your mind as a complex building. It has public areas where you greet guests, and private rooms where you keep your secrets. It has strong walls and secure locks, but it also has hidden entrances and forgotten windows. Dark psychology is the knowledge of these secret passages. It's understanding that a person's need for approval can be a backdoor. Their fear of loneliness can be an unlocked window. Their desire to feel special can be a master key. It is not about supernatural powers. It is about a cold, calculated understanding of human nature's predictable patterns. Manipulation, the primary tool of dark psychology, is the act of using this knowledge to influence someone for your own benefit. It's different from healthy influence. A good friend might influence you to take up a healthy habit. A teacher might influence you to study harder. Their goal is your well-being. Manipulation, however, is always self-serving. The manipulator's goal is to gain power, control, or some other advantage at your expense. They expertly guide your thoughts and feelings, leading you down a path you believe you have chosen yourself, but which ultimately serves their agenda alone. This process is rarely dramatic or obvious like in the movies. It is subtle. It is gradual. It is the slow drip of water that eventually wears away the stone. The manipulator learns your personal language, your emotional rhythm. They adapt their tactics to fit you perfectly, making the manipulation feel like a natural part of your relationship. They might use flattery, guilt, or confusion as their tools. They are social chameleons, changing their colors to blend into your life seamlessly, all while quietly working the controls from behind the scenes. Why would someone choose to use these tactics? What drives a person to manipulate others? The reasons are as complex as the human mind itself. Often the root lies deep within the manipulator's own psychology, in a place they themselves might not fully understand. It frequently stems from a profound sense of insecurity. A person who feels powerless on the inside may seek to create a feeling of power by controlling those around them. Their ability to influence others becomes a way to prove their own worth, a constant validation for a fragile ego. This deep-seated insecurity is often masked by an outward display of confidence, much like Julian's charming persona. It's a carefully constructed facade designed to hide the emptiness within. For these individuals, relationships are not about connection, they are about conquest. Each person they successfully manipulate is another victory, another temporary fix for their feelings of inadequacy. They are not necessarily evil in the classic sense. They are often deeply wounded people who have learned that controlling others is the only way to soothe their own inner turmoil and feel safe in a world they perceive as threatening. Another powerful motivator is a concept known as the dark triad of personality traits: narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy. Narcissists have an inflated sense of self-importance and a desperate need for admiration. Machiavellian individuals are cynical, strategic, and believe that the ends always justify the means. Psychopaths lack empathy and remorse, viewing other people as mere objects to be used. When these traits are present, the capacity for manipulation increases dramatically. The manipulator feels entitled to get what they want, and feels little to no guilt about the harm they cause along the way. It is crucial to understand that these individuals don't see their actions as wrong. In their worldview, this is simply how the world works. They believe everyone is out for themselves, and they are just better at playing the game. They might even convince themselves that their manipulation is for the other person's own good, twisting reality to fit their narrative. This internal justification allows them to continue their behavior without facing the moral consequences. To them, it is not exploitation. It is simply survival of the fittest in a social jungle. To truly understand how manipulation works, we must first look at the fundamental principles it is built upon. These are not secret tricks known only to a select few. They're actually well-documented psychological principles of influence, discovered and studied by social psychologists. The difference is that a manipulator uses these tools for dark purposes. One of the most powerful principles is reciprocity. This is the simple idea that if I give you something, you will feel an innate obligation to give me something back in return. This is the foundation of Julian's coffee gifts and constant favors. Each small gift, each thoughtful gesture, creates a tiny emotional debt. You feel grateful. You feel you owe him. So when he later asks for something, your time, your loyalty, your agreement, it becomes much harder to say no. Refusing would make you feel ungrateful and selfish. The manipulator understands this social contract perfectly and exploits it. They make calculated investments of kindness, knowing they will be able to cash in on the emotional debt later. This isn't genuine giving, it is a strategic transaction disguised as generosity, a hook baited with goodwill. Another key tool is the principle of commitment and consistency. We have a deep-seated need to be consistent with our past decisions and statements. Once we commit to something, even in a small way, we are more likely to agree to larger requests that are consistent with that initial commitment. A manipulator might start by getting you to agree to a small, harmless idea. Later, they will present a much larger, more demanding request that logically follows from your first agreement. To refuse the second request would be to contradict yourself, creating a feeling of mental discomfort called cognitive dissonance. To avoid this discomfort, we often just go along with the larger request, convincing ourselves it's what we wanted all along. This foot-in-the-door technique is incredibly effective. It's how a charming stranger can go from asking for a moment of your time to gradually isolating you from your friends. Each step seems small and logical on its own, a natural progression from the last. Before you know it, you have walked a mile down a road you never intended to travel, led by your own desire to remain consistent with the small choices you made at the start. Gaslighting is one of the most insidious tools in a manipulator's arsenal. It methodically erodes someone's perception of reality, making you doubt your memory, judgment, and sanity. Imagine your partner, Alex, denies promising to attend a family event. He claims the conversation never happened, making you question yourself. This tactic attacks the foundation of your identity. Gaslighters deny events, invent events, and question your emotions, reframing your reactions as instability. You become dependent on the manipulator to define reality. The goal is to gain complete control, disabling your ability to call them out. Guilt tripping is when someone manipulates you by making you feel responsible for their emotions or misfortunes. Instead of asking for what they want, they play the victim, casting you as the villain if you don't comply. You might hear, "Go out with your other friends, I'll just stay here alone," or, "After all I've done for you, this is how you repay me." The goal is to make you act out of obligation, not genuine desire. Over time, you end up walking on eggshells, constantly trying to avoid disappointing them. The manipulator gains control while you become the caretaker of their feelings, trapped in a cycle of guilt. Love bombing is a manipulator's charm offensive, overwhelming you with affection gifts and attention right from the start. It feels magical, like a fairy tale, but it's calculated. Once you're hooked, the affection vanishes, replaced by criticism or indifference. You're left chasing that initial high, desperate to win back their love. This cycle, idealize, devalue, discard, keeps you trapped, always hoping for a return to the good old days. The manipulator uses your longing as leverage, offering just enough warmth to keep you invested. You become stuck in their beautiful cage, tolerating mistreatment for a glimpse of that lost perfection. Manipulation erodes your identity, not with a single blow, but through constant, subtle pressure. You lose touch with your own desires and opinions, focusing only on pleasing the manipulator. Hobbies and friendships fade away, leaving you isolated and dependent. Your confidence and sense of self shrink, replaced by anxiety and emptiness. The manipulator rewrites your story, making you a minor character in your own life. You're left hollow, struggling to remember who you were before. Manipulation creates a fog of confusion and self-doubt. The manipulator's voice becomes your inner critic, making you second-guess every decision. You apologize constantly, tiptoe around potential conflict, and lose trust in your own judgment. Accepting their reality feels easier than fighting for your own. This mental exhaustion spills into every part of your life, leaving you drained and burnt out. The echo chamber of doubt isolates you from others, and from your own clarity. Even when the manipulator isn't there, their influence lingers like a ghost. You censor yourself, anticipate their reactions, and make choices based on their preferences. Their control becomes internalized. You enforce their rules on yourself. This constant vigilance is exhausting, affecting both mind and body. Even after leaving, their voice can haunt your thoughts, triggering guilt or self-doubt. Recovery means learning to trust your own voice again and reclaiming your mental space. Your best defense against manipulation is your intuition, that gut feeling when something feels off. Don't ignore it. It's your mind picking up on subtle warning signs. Chronic confusion after conversations is another red flag. Manipulators create mental fog to keep you off balance. Pay attention to how you feel after interactions, empowered or diminished. Healthy relationships leave you feeling respected. Manipulative ones leave you anxious and small. Your emotions are valuable data. Trust them. Listening to your internal alarm is the first step toward breaking free. Manipulators use key phrases to disarm guilt and control. They might play the victim, saying, "I guess I'm just not important to you," to make you feel guilty. They discount your feelings with phrases like, "You're being too sensitive," a form of gaslighting. Be wary of extreme statements early on, like, "You're the only one who understands me," a love-bombing tactic to hook you. Finally, listen for blame-shifting language. Instead of apologizing, they might say, "I'm sorry you feel that way," or "Look what you made me do," avoiding responsibility. A consistent inability to say, "I was wrong, I am sorry," is a major red flag. One of the most effective strategies for deflecting manipulation is simple: create a pause. Manipulators thrive on immediacy, pressuring you for an immediate answer. By giving yourself time, you take back control and allow the mental fog to clear. Use the phrase, "Let me think about that and get back to you." During this pause, perform a quick reality check. Talk to a trusted friend. The goal is to reaffirm your own reality. Take notice of your body's signals. These are physical manifestations of your internal alarm system. This habit of mindful self-reflection builds your resilience. We have journeyed through the shadowy landscape of dark psychology. Now, we arrive at the most crucial part of our journey, forging the armor that will protect you, personal boundaries. It is a clear line that defines what you are and are not willing to accept in your life. It is a statement of self-respect that teaches others how to treat you. It requires you to say no without feeling guilty. The manipulator will almost certainly test your new boundaries. This is a critical moment. Holding firm in the face of this resistance is the most difficult part, but it is also the most important. Every time you successfully enforce a boundary, you strengthen it. Think of boundary setting as a form of emotional self-defense. It begins with small, manageable steps. This isn't selfishness, it is the fundamental act of self-preservation. Beyond setting boundaries lies a deeper protection, self-worth. If manipulation is a fog, then self-worth is the lighthouse that cuts through it, guiding you safely. A manipulator's power diminishes when faced with someone who knows their value. Their tactics lose their sting because your opinion isn't dependent on their validation. You become your own source of approval. Building this internal lighthouse is conscious self-investment. Seek relationships that make you feel strong and respected. Each positive experience is another brick in your self-worth foundation, resilient to manipulation. Change how you speak to yourself. Replace the inner critic with compassion. A strong sense of self-worth is recognizing you are whole on your own. Your value is inherent. When you believe this, manipulation collapses. You're a lighthouse, secure on your foundation. Understanding dark psychology isn't about paranoia. It's about liberation. It's the freedom that comes from understanding the game, so you no longer have to play it. Knowledge transforms fear into awareness, giving you the power of choice. By understanding manipulation, you develop a deeper appreciation for true kindness. Armed with knowledge, you can see manipulation in a new light. You are no longer a potential puppet, but an informed observer. You have changed yourself. You've learned to listen to your intuition, set firm boundaries, and build self-worth. You are now the master of your own mind and the captain of your own soul.